In Millennials and Money, expectations are very high for millennials. They are expected to become very wealthy. Let's bring in Rob Stein of Astor Investment Management. Rob, what's happening here?
Well, the wealthiest, I guess as a percentage of GDP, you're never going to beat the barons back from, the turn of the last century, the Rockefellers. But I do believe that we're going to get some substantial inflation. They're going to participate in that. Obviously, even the last year or two, the stock market's done very well for them. They're going to have higher wages. And it's going to be, Angie, the largest transfer of wealth ever in the history of our country. People have life insurance policies. Although people are living longer, I'm expecting a substantial transfer of financial assets and housing over the next 10, 20, maybe 25 years.
What are some other ways that millennials are benefiting?
Well, wages, as I mentioned, are going up gradually, but I do believe that there's going to be a acceleration in higher wages, partially because of COVID, but also partially because of how millennials have chosen to work. And they have worked in a more efficient way. They're able to spend more because of their time, the way that they schedule their time. And ultimately, as they start to save somewhat robotically with all of the new apps and ways of saving, the extra coins and so on and so forth, and the stock market having a very decent run with it that I expect, with hiccups, of course, but along the way to produce some outsized returns between now and retirement of the average millennial. And don't forget, housing prices have been basically flat for most of the country, not including some pocket areas. Started to accelerate, and I believe that that's generally the largest asset that investors have. And I think we're going to have inflation really start to make housing and real assets accelerate very, very exponentially.
Is there a way for everybody else to follow this lead?
Well, just start saving, right? Be diversified, but in all the different ways that you could save, whether it's rounding up your quarters, whether it's contributing to your 401k, your IRA, and then don't be afraid to make some investments. My generation, or slightly above my generation, was all about just saving it in the bank, but there's opportunities. There's housing, of course, as we know that. There's new companies that are starting all the time. There's the stock market, as we've pointed out, ETFs that give you broad exposure. So there's a lot of things that investors can do now that they weren't able to do, or we weren't able to do when we first started out.
Thanks, Rob, for helping us out with Millennials and Money today. Go to businessfirstam.com for where to see our show on TV.